have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Thursday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with JJ LaSelva. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us to close out the week for a lot of us here on Hacker After Dark. Of course, 4th of July tomorrow. Hope you guys have a lot of good stuff planned. Family, friends, barbecue, the beach, of course, some fireworks. I know in my neighborhood, JJ, they've already gotten an early start on said fireworks. That's been fun all week. And but look, I love it. It's this time of year. Kids go out there, have some fun, and do your thing. And as long as you're safe, no one will really matter. No one will care. So
I like how you said kids when really it's all of us.
Well, it's all of us.
There's plenty of adults out there lighting off fireworks.
Dude, the kids last night, man, I guess sparklers are still a thing.
Okay.
Now, they were really big when I was younger. Of
course.
But I got burned doing those things.
Oh, my God. Those are the least dangerous fireworks for sure.
I'm just
if
talking
you can't
about me
handle
personally.
a sparkler.
Well, right, but I was like 8 or 9 years old. That's what I'm talking about. That's 30-plus years ago. No, there was somebody in our neighborhood was having a heck of a good time down the street. They were shooting off some pretty good ones. So I can only imagine what we're going to have tomorrow night. As far as tonight, there's a couple of things I want to get into leading into the 4th of July weekend. Let me go ahead and set the guest lineup for you right now. So we spend a lot of time on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and with good reason, and we'll do that tonight. In fact, Justin Barney of Channel 4 will stop by, and we'll talk a little Jaguar training camp. But along with that, I want to talk with Justin about some high school football. We are now less than a month away from High School Football Media Day here in Northeast Florida, and the regular season of high school football and our 19th year of the Friday Night Lights postgame, year 19, will kick off on Friday night, August the 22nd. So we'll talk a little high school football here in the area, plus the Jaguars with Justin Barney of Channel 4. We will then take a trip down to Miami, Florida. Adam Lichtenstein of the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. He is the beat writer for the Miami Hurricanes. We'll check in on JJ's team, Mario Cristobal, Carson Beck, and the Canes. Getting ready, ACC Media Days, less than 3 weeks away. What is the thought on Miami heading into 2025? We will also head to Athens, Georgia in the 9 o'clock hour. Benjamin Wolk of Dogs247sports.com. That's part of the 247sports.com network. We'll talk a little Gunnar Stockton, a little Kirby Smart, and is it possible that at least for their standards, Georgia may be, dare I say, a little bit under the radar heading into 2025? So Jaguar talk, high school talk, Hurricanes, Bulldogs. We got a lot for you leading up to 10 o'clock tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Every night on HAD, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night. And JJ LaSelva, let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
Well, last night was fun if you're a fan of United States soccer. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but it was fun to see the guys go out there, beat Guatemala in the fashion that they did, and now they advance to play Mexico on Sunday. And that's kind of the game, right? For the Gold Cup to have relevance on Sunday, it needed to be the United States and Mexico. And that's what we have on Sunday evening. I'm sure a lot of people will watch that. It'll probably be the first match of the entire tournament that you've watched. But whenever the USA and Mexico get together in a soccer final, it's a pretty big deal. And I hope Sunday, to end the 4th of July weekend, it will be a big deal. But, JJ, you and I were texting last night during the match, and I got to tell you, man, I was pretty disappointed. They won the game, right? But this has really nothing to do with the players. They play in St. Louis, Missouri. They were only in a stadium that sat about 22,000. Stupid me. I was thinking St. Louis, they'd be in the Dome, but of course they weren't. They were in a 22,000-seat outdoor soccer stadium. And they're playing Guatemala, right? They're not playing Mexico or Canada or Costa Rica. And no offense to Guatemala, but you would not expect Guatemala to have a large fan presence in St. Louis, Missouri for this semifinal soccer match in the Gold Cup. The Guatemala fans outdrew the United States fans in the heart of this country, in St. Louis, Missouri. It was a road game for the United States. There were more Guatemala fans in that stadium, and what's going to be really terrible is on Sunday night in Houston, there'll be 3-1 or 4-1 Mexico fans compared to that of the United States. JJ, we seemingly have this talk whenever the World Cup comes around, and keep in mind, the World Cup is coming around to our country next summer. Why soccer just never takes off here? And the Gold Cup might be a bad example because Pulisic's not in it. All the big-time players aren't in it. It's kind of the B team or even the C team for the USA. But nevertheless, last night in the heart of this country, you had more fans from Guatemala than you did the United States, and I was shocked by that, and I was pretty disappointed by that.
Yeah, I was surprised. It's never surprising when it's like Mexico, which we see all the time. And unfortunately, the people who run the United States national team always schedule games against Mexico in Texas or California.
Yeah.
Because it makes a lot of money and they sell out these huge crowds, but it puts us at a huge disadvantage. But I was shocked that Guatemala had that many people there last night. I mean, it says a lot about just immigration in this country, straight up. Like that there's that many people around St. Louis that are Guatemalans that can pack a stadium. But it also says a lot about like the lack of hype for this national team.
Well, that's right. Now,
they don't have like, if the big boys don't want to show up and play for us, then why as a fan would I want to show up and watch like these MLS All-Stars, basically? Guys I've never even heard of.
Yeah, I know you said that earlier, and I agree with you. The one thing to me, not that you and I are becoming old, but we're getting older. See, when we talk soccer 10 years ago or 5 years ago, I was always under the impression in my early 30s, even mid to late 30s, that my generation, right, the guys that were my age, JJ, you're a little younger than me by about 5 years, certainly the guys that are your age and maybe a little younger than you, that soccer was going to become a really, really big deal in this country. Never to the extent of the NFL or the NBA, I'm not saying that, but it was going to be a much bigger deal than soccer was in this country, say, 20, 30 years ago. And quite frankly, it hasn't become that.
Not even close. And I'll give you one reason why I think. It's Fox.
Yeah.
Fox has had the rights to our national team for a long-ass time now. Like, they basically get all the big tournaments, I'm pretty sure the World Cup will be on Fox.
It will be.
You can't compare the coverage that ESPN gives their sports to Fox. Like, if you're just around the house doing laundry or whatever, most sports fans will just have ESPN on at some point in the day, whatever. And even if they're not showing highlights of the game, it's on the bottom line. It's in commercial breaks. Like, if ESPN has a product, they're going to sell it to you. But because they haven't had the national team in forever, like, they just act like it doesn't exist. And if it's like baseball. If ESPN's not talking about it, it's not going to be a thing.
That's a good point. They kind of did the same thing with NASCAR.
Yeah, when they had NASCAR, they were all in on it. And then they didn't, and it doesn't exist anymore.
When NASCAR left ESPN, that's a very good point. When NASCAR left ESPN, it kind of, wavered a little bit as far as the support. And Fox has hired Alexi Lawless. They got Landon Donovan. I mean, they got the guys, the analysts you would want them to have. But it was just very disheartening last night. And again, people listening right now saying, well, who cares about soccer? Well, that's probably part of the problem. I'm not telling you to go support the MLS, although I hope you do. I know a lot of my buddies. JJ, you're one of them. I mean, they're all about the Champions League. My buddies will wake up at 7, 8 a.m. on the weekends and watch this
Premier League
European team versus that European team, and they love that. I'm not that guy. I'm a guy that loves United States soccer. Gold Cup, World Cup qualifying, obviously the World Cup. And I just could not believe that in a 22,000-seat stadium in the heart of this country last night,
We're getting booed when we score.
got booed and we got outdrawn by fans of Guatemala.
I was shocked, dude.
And again, Sunday is going to be ridiculous.
All Mexico.
It'll be that stadium in Houston. They're playing where the Texans play. So there'll be 70,000 people in there, probably. It'll be 50,000 Mexico fans.
Oh, easy. And they'll be way louder than us.
There's no doubt. No doubt. But, hey, it's going to be some good theater. Again, the United States, Mexico, Sunday night, 7 o'clock on Fox. I certainly hope you watch
Yeah,
it.
one quick thing. When 2026 summer does come around, people are going to be hyped.
They will be.
It'll be must watch. Everybody will be talking about it. I just know that. No matter how low it seems on the entertainment rankings for sports fans right now, I know next year people are going to be into it.
That's a good point. All the casual fans will be into it, too. Whenever the World Cup comes around, that's exactly right. But it's weird. Isn't next year the first year they're doing like the 48 teams?
Yeah, they're expanding. I know that.
Because and they've already Canada, Mexico, and the USA
Already
get
qualified.
automatic bids because the 3 countries are hosting the World Cup. So we don't even have to qualify.
Thank God for that.
Right, exactly. But I think they've expanded to go from 32 to 48. So I have no idea how the format's going to work or anything. But I agree. When the World Cup is here next year, it will be a very, very big deal for that 4 to 6 week period. It's always a big deal to talk Jaguar football. And I want to talk a little high school football. Who are some of the best players in the area? Some of the best teams in the area? How many teams have brand new head coaches? We got Friday Night Lights. Again, our 19th year of the Friday Night Lights postgame begins Friday night, August the 22nd. Let's talk Jags. Let's talk high school ball. Let's do it with my buddy Justin Barney of Channel 4. He joins me next on this Wednesday evening. Check that. This Thursday evening, July the 3rd, one night before July 4th with JJ LaSelva, the hacker Ryan Green with you. And we're glad you're with us right here on Hacker After Dark.
He was a cop and good at his job. Now he prowls the Badlands, an outlaw hunting outlaws, a bounty hunter, a renegade.
Rick Ballou. Evenings on 1010XL.
Ballou here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy. Why so glum?
Stinky ice cubes, Jason. It's all downhill from here.
What?
The tap water at my place smells kind of funky. Funky tap water makes funky ice cubes. I meet a nice girl, invite her back to my place for a cocktail, and blow my whole romantic gesture with a mojito that smells like dog's feet.
Wait, I can totally make you way cooler.
I'm not taking your charity ice cubes, Jason. I have my pride.
Your pride is safe. Our plumbers can be at your house the day you call and install a whole home water purification system. Water tastes better, dishes come out cleaner, even your hair feels better after you shower.
Ooh, the ladies love a man with soft hair, don't they, Jason?
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend every day worried about the water in your own home, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
The best value for golf in Jacksonville remains Cimarron. Totally reestablished with new tee boxes, improved fairways and greens. Also a brand new restaurant with indoor and outdoor settings and live music. Join the Wild One loyalty program online at Cimarron Golf. When's the last time you played Cimarron? Cimarron Golf Club on 210, the Wild One.
Hey, Hicken here, and you know I'm going to talk about skin. Yeah, it's hot outside, folks. The oven is on, temps are in the 90s, and it's only getting hotter. I love the summer, but my skin doesn't. I do my best with dry fit shirts, big floppy hats, plenty of water. My secret weapon, though, the screen, sunscreen. I use it regularly. Maybe you should as well. Look, I've also been seeing docs at Peaches Dermatology for years, and my skin thanks me for it. I'm telling you, it could save your life. Book your appointment today at peachesdermatology.com.
Are you living with diabetic neuropathy? That pain and numbness in your hands or feet. What about chronic knee or shoulder pain? Maybe you've tried various treatments, but they've been ineffective. Now there's a solution. Dr. Ferdinand Formoso specializes in advanced pain management and offers breakthrough neuromodulation treatments for those conditions. His innovative treatments target the source of your pain, offering relief where medications may fall short. All procedures are performed outpatient with no hospitalization required. Just a chance for you to feel and live better. If you want to learn more, Dr. Formoso is hosting free informational classes where he'll explain the benefits of neuromodulation therapies and how they can help eliminate your pain. Spaces are limited, so call to reserve your spot now with offices on the South Side, West Side, and Jacksonville Beach. Relief is possible with Formoso Spine and Joint Pain Specialists.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On July 3rd, 1987, Darryl Strawberry threatened his teammate for criticizing his play. Darryl Strawberry is now an ordained minister.
Brackish Vodka, the spirit of the sportsman and proud partner of the Jaguars, wants to make your flight in and out of Jax a fun one. Stop by Vino Volo in the airport and enjoy 2 signature Brackish cocktails. Vino Volo has amazing food and cocktails before your flight. Brackish Vodka is the first clean craft vodka and made right here in Jacksonville, Florida. Brackish Vodka for whatever your sport is. If your sport is flying, your vodka is Brackish, proud partner of the Jaguars.
Mike Dempsey, and now's the time to get your roof hurricane ready with Apex Roofing and Contracting of Jax Beach. Look, our rainy season is no joke, and if your roof's got damage, leaks, or it's just plain worn out, don't wait. Apex is local, dependable, and will show up on time using only premium materials with ironclad warranties. No shortcuts, no stress, just quality work you can trust. Skip the storm season scramble. Reach for the peak with Apex Roofing and Contracting in Jax Beach or visit apexroofingfl.com.
Need the right tools for the job without the full-time price tag? Tucker Equipment Rentals in Neptune Beach is what you need when you need it. From heavy machinery for commercial projects to weekend projects at the house, we've got you covered. We've been serving Jax for 50 years. Visit Tucker Equipment Rentals in Neptune Beach, just behind Aqua East Surf Shop, or call today. We also have event rentals too. Tucker Equipment Rentals. Tools you need without the price tag of purchasing.
The playoff-bound Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp are in full swing at the newly renovated VyStar Ballpark. Your home for affordable family fun. Tickets start at just $5. Fireworks after every Friday home game, and kids round the bases after Sunday games. Log on to jackshrimp.com for tickets and details. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable, family, fun.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The month of July has arrived. Hard to believe. Later this month, the Jaguars will report for training camp, and we are a month away from high school media days here in Northeast Florida. There's a lot to get into with that. My buddy Justin Barney of Channel 4, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Justin, I trust your summer's going well, man. How are you?
Yeah, man, good. Just trying to stretch in some vacation along with putting in some high school football schedules and tracking recruiting news. And it's kind of the lull period before we really get cranking. Not much time left. About 3 weeks before things get a little bit crazy. And then, of course, a month away from high school football media day, man. As long as it used to when we were kids, does it?
Yeah, no, I'm sneaking in one more vacation the week of July 14th, and that's basically it for me until the end of the year. Justin, we haven't talked on air since OTAs and certainly mini camp, and as we get ready for training camp in 3 weeks, Just your thought. You were out there every day, a broad overview, what you made of the Jaguar offseason program.
Yeah, definitely a different vibe out there than has been in the past. So I think that was the first thing I noticed, and a lot of new faces was the next thing, and that's to be expected with as many undrafted free agents as they brought in, as many draft picks. I think we're sitting on 29 new guys in the mix in terms of UDFAs and draft picks. And then you're trying to see who's going to mix into that starting equation. Maybe in the offensive line, we're going to have some new faces. Maybe in the secondary, we're going to have some new faces. Does Darnell Savage stay in there as a starter like he was last year? Or do guys get in, and Jordan Lewis, does he get in there and make a big impact? So I think the question for me is, do the holdovers, which of those guys kind of stick and stay, and then which of those new guys are going to kind of assert themselves into the position. We have a lot of spots, I think, that may be a little bit more open than they have been in the past.
Justin Barney of Channel 4. All right, Justin, let's kind of go individually. I got to ask you first and foremost, you've gotten your eyes on Travis Hunter now for an offseason. What has been your thought on the Heisman Trophy winner out of Colorado?
Yeah, he looks good. He looks to me he comes off as a little slight though in terms of his frame. I think he's going to need to add a little bit of weight to make it through a 17-game season at the NFL level. But man, he looks good running routes. I love his energy and his enthusiasm. If you've been out there any time at all, you cannot have missed Travis Hunter's dancing and his moves and kind of slapping hands with his teammates and trying to get them involved. So the energy he brings really infectious in that receiver core, and he just looks smooth out there running routes. And I think the bulk we've seen him, Hacker, has been on the offensive side of the ball, very limited on defensive reps in front of us at least. But man, he looks really, really good running routes and catching passes. I don't think I saw him drop a pass at all in any of the OTAs or any of the training camp or any mini camp practices at all. So that is good in terms of Jaguars players who have struggled with drops in the past. So I am really, really excited to see how he blends into that offensive formation with BTJ and De'Ami Brown. So I'm really excited to see him. He's been as advertised on the offensive side of the ball, if that's possible, without being in pads.
This could mean nothing, could mean something. I did find it interesting and cool, quite frankly, that the wide receiving core, Trevor Lawrence as well, apparently down in the Bahamas over the last couple of days. There's been videos coming out online. Talk about building team chemistry, Justin. Not a better way to do it than a vacation in the Bahamas and get some workouts in the process.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I remember that picture a few years ago of Trevor and his receivers on a lake or something somewhere at Evan Ingram as well. So that's cool to have that rapport, and you want to see that in a big year, of course, for Trevor as well. He's been banged up the last 2 years, and really I think not necessarily a make or break season for him, but as close to that as possible going into year 5. That new contract has not even started. He's still in his 5th-year option this year. So interesting to see what he does this year with health, with a new offense, with better footwork, and certainly I think the best offensive line that he's had in his 5 years in the league.
You mentioned Evan Ingram. He's no longer here. Of course, Brenton Strange, the starting tight end. Does the depth at tight end concern you at all heading into the year?
Yeah, I think so. Brenton has not been the guy yet. We'll see how that is in his first year as a true unquestioned starter with no Evan Ingram in the lineup. He's different than Evan. Evan's more that receiver body in a sense, and Brenton more that blocker and pseudo receiver. So yeah, it does scare me a little bit, because behind Evan Ingram, really you've got some UDFAs in the mix, and Hunter Long and Johnny Munt, and I really don't know if those guys are much of anything in terms of a blocking, a passing option there. So I'd like to see another pass catching tight end, other than what Brenton Strange has to offer. Yeah, that's a position that does, at least right now as we stand here in July, does worry me a little bit in terms of the depth there behind Brenton Strange, because there's nothing behind Brenton Strange there, but it's time for him to step up too.
A couple of more for Justin Barney of Channel 4. Justin, as we look ahead to position battles heading into camp in a couple of weeks, what do you make of running back there at the top of the running back room?
Yeah, I think it's a make or break year for Travis Etienne. He's on the 5th-year option as well. He's trying to bounce back from the worst season of his career. Tank Bigsby is kind of enters camp as maybe that 1A guy out of the backfield. He's certainly coming off that year where he had made a case for himself to be the starting running back. And Travis probably feeling a little bit slighted, a little bit under the radar. He knows this is a business. He has to perform, and I think he's competing for not only his space here in Jacksonville, but for an audition for next year. You know, running backs has been able to cash in recently in free agency, and Travis, I think, with a good year, can certainly find himself in that mix next year, be it Jacksonville or somewhere else. But yeah, Travis Etienne, huge season for him, and he's flying a little bit under the radar, which I kind of like. So he's had 2 exceptional years in the NFL, and then last year, which was really kind of against the norm. So massive season. He's been kind of my guy on the breakout campaign for me. He's got to have that big year for this offense to thrive.
Speaking of running backs, Justin, a running back is only as good as his offensive line. The Jaguars brought in 6 new linemen, 4 in free agency, 2 in the draft. Of the 6, does anybody not make the roster, or do you expect all 6 new linemen to be here?
I think you've got to think at least 5 of those 6, if not all 6 of those guys, will be here. I mean, you're going to have new starters potentially with Macari and Hainsey, the free agents guys, in the mix in the starting lineup. I think you could have Wyatt Milam starting at left guard. So I mean, I think offensive line to me is going to be the position group where there's the most competition there in terms of draft picks and free agent guys, with the incumbents holding over. And really, you've got to start there. I mean, Liam Cohen talked, I think, in his introductory press conference about how important it was to have that continuity on the offensive line, have that blocking down on the offensive line. You've seen it the last couple of years with Trevor Lawrence being banged up and not being able to finish the year last year. So I think blocking is so important in Trevor's growth, the running game's growth, and you've got to have those guys blocking. And I'm really hopeful that the investments they made in free agency, it really going to pay off. I'm looking more towards that position group than any other one this year in terms of seeing that whole group elevate.
And Justin, it seems they're trying to light a fire under Anton Harrison. They talk about, when he wants to, he can be pretty good. I mean, if that's not a statement to a guy, I don't know what is. Do you buy that there will be a real competition there between he and Chuma Edoga?
Yeah, I think so. I think, he was drafted under a different regime. He's not their guy. He's going into a huge year. I mean, they have to decide next spring whether to pick up his 5th-year option. So, yeah, I think you're trying to, when you spend that first-round draft capital on him, again, another regime took him. But you want to see that. You want to see that guy hold down that position for 10 to 12 years. And I think they've seen what Anton can do when he's motivated, when he's on. And they're just trying to light that fire and unlock that in him, because I think he's got a little bit more upside than a Chuma Edoga. So you want to hope and see that Anton really develops into that first round draft pick. But I think Liam Cohen is rightful to try and light that fire under Anton Harrison. Huge year for him, and it's not even a guarantee that he's going to be a week 1 starter. So he's got to perform, though. He has got to be a little bit more consistent than he's been the last 2 years.
Justin, I want to end with high school. Final Jaguar topic. The defense was, they were awful at times last year. Let's not sugarcoat it. They've done some things in free agency. They did some things in the draft. Obviously, a whole new defensive staff, or a mostly new defensive staff, led by Anthony Campanile. What is your thought on the Jaguar defense as camp approaches?
Well, they've got to be better, right? They can't possibly be as bad as they were last year. It was embarrassing to watch at every level. I think you got your two of your best rushers playing a hockey style sub rotation and line checks almost, it felt like, with those guys, and asking Josh Allen to bulk up, and it just felt like that they were out of sorts from the beginning of the season. And you're hoping with weight coming off those guys, Eric Armstead moving back inside, Mason Smith developing, the push up front will certainly be better. You hope to be better than it was last year. And then in the secondary, I think your linebackers are pretty much set, but in the secondary, you've got to hope that what you get from Travis Hunter is good. You hope that Jordan Lewis is good. Certainly for that, what you paid for him, you certainly hope he justifies that. But I do think you're going to be better in the secondary. They just did not perform well last year in that system that was run. And I think it starts up front too with those the defensive linemen, having them heavier than normal, playing out of position. So you hope that they take a step forward too. I mean, it can't possibly be as bad as it was last year if Jacksonville has any hope of contending in that AFC South. So hopefully a new coaching staff on that defensive side of the ball unlocks the talent for a lot of those guys.
Justin, we haven't talked a lot of high school football this offseason. We're 1 month away from Media Day. The regular season begins on Friday night, August the 22nd. For people that might have missed any big news over the last, 5 or 6 months of the high school offseason, how would you summarize the offseason in Northeast Florida?
Yeah, it's been a relatively a quieter offseason in terms of things around here. New head coach at Fleming Island, Derek Chipoletti, took the interim tag off of him. I think that was probably the bigger coaching news. Marty Lee steps down at First Coast after being there for what felt like a lifetime. Handed the reins to Jarvis Parker, so that's a little bit more a coaching news there. But yeah, I think it's been a relatively stable offseason in terms of what's going on around here. Of course, interesting. It's always interesting when the transfer portal of the summer settles down. But I think we're still going to see the heavyweights and the blue bloods that we always see in that mix again. Rains, Bowles will be two of the best teams in the area. St. Augustine will be good. Mandarin, Bradford will be good. So I do think we're going to see those, and I do think we're going to see teams like a Beachside really take a step forward this year. A lot of those guys have been there since the doors opened, and this is a really the pinnacle season for guys like Eddie Jordan at quarterback, Maddox Hunstead, those guys at Beachside really to go out with a bang. So I think we're going to see the blue bloods, and we're going to see the rise of some new guys like a Beachside.
If you're looking at just the recruiting ranking boards, you mentioned Bowles. Boy, they got some guys going to some big time programs, Justin. They obviously have big time prospects on that team.
Yeah, and these guys have been there for a little bit of time, too. You're like a Naeem Burrows headed to Clemson. You got a Simeon Caldwell going to Ohio State. He's kind of that hybrid safety linebacker kind of guy. You've got Corbin Fordham, big tight end, offensive line. You've got guys like Ryan Ingram, J.J. Sparks. I mean, really, really good guys on both. And these are guys that have, not just transfers that are coming in. These are guys that have been here for a little bit of time. And Bowles has kind of been building towards this season with those underclassmen starting early on in their career and kind of been ramping up towards this. But I would not be surprised. I haven't done my early preseason rankings, but I wouldn't be surprised if I had Bowles at number 1 to start the season. They are really, really good football team. Again, you look at teams like a Trinity Christian who made it to the state semifinals last year with an extremely young program. All those guys are back and ready to run it back again. So I think we're going to see a lot of those familiar name programs, and then a couple newcomers, like I said, the beach sides of the world squeeze on in there. But I can't wait. August 15th are kickoff classics, and the regular season starts for a sampling of area teams. But August 22nd, big week 1 in high school football, and it's getting here quick.
Justin, final question. You and I talked about this down at OTAs. The state of Georgia has done something to, I guess, limit the amount of transfers that their players can go through in the high school ranks. I believe it's only 1 transfer per player, and then you have to start sitting out a year if memory serves. Will we ever see anything like that in the state of Florida?
I don't think so. And in Florida, it's been really kind of the opposite. Years ago, probably 6 years ago, became they call it controlled open enrollment in Florida. And that's because legislators here want the kids to have as much choice as possible. And listening to board of directors meetings this year and last year as well, the kind of a familiar refrain is, why should we treat athletes differently than we treat kids who are in other programs, whatever, ROTC and band and all that? Why should we penalize kids because they play sports when we don't do that for other kids and other avenues of interest? So I don't think we're going to see that. Legislature here controls everything, and they are big proponents of transfer and school choice. So I don't think we're going to see anything like what's been proposed up in Georgia get here anytime soon, especially in the current political climate. So I would say if anything happens, it's going to be significant significantly down the road. Or, in terms of there have been smoke and buzz before about schools or counties breaking away and maybe forming their own athletic association. So in the state of Florida. So maybe if something like that happens and they gain enough interest, then possibly change. But I don't see anything at all like what's happened in Georgia where you'd have to sit out a year happening like that. There used to be a law in the state of Florida where it was like that, where you did have to sit out a year if you didn't make a full and complete residential move. But those are the days of old, and it's a new era in town.
Justin Barney of Channel 4. Justin, enjoy the last couple of weeks of summer. I'll see you out there at Jaguar training camp in a few weeks.
Take care, Hack. Thanks for having me.
There you go, Justin Barney of Channel 4, always kind enough to join us here on Hacker After Dark. And yeah, the high school football season, Media Day, August 1st, and Week 1 in unison begins on Friday night, August the 22nd. We've talked a lot of Florida State and a lot of Florida this week. I wanted to spend some time tonight heading into 4th of July weekend to talk about the Hurricanes and the Dogs. In the 9 o'clock hour, we'll go to Athens. Dogs247.com's Benjamin Wolk will join us to talk about Kirby Smart, Gunnar Stockton, and what the Dogs might have in 2025. But we'll start in Miami. Adam Lichtenstein is the beat writer for the Miami Hurricanes for the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. Great year last year, disappointing ending, and obviously Carson Beck is in town now. What is the thought on Miami entering the year? Keep in mind, the first 4 weeks of the year, they have home games against Notre Dame and Florida. We're going to find out pretty quick. Let's talk Miami Hurricanes. Adam Lichtenstein of the Sun-Sentinel joins us next on a Thursday night here in Jacksonville. It's Hacker After Dark.
Buckle up and grab the wheel. Am I dreaming right now? It's a Sunday street race in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, baby! Yeah, baby!
Powered by the Plumbers and Pipefitters Local Union 234. From the station with the most horsepower, 1010XL.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental. With light sedation for cleaning, then deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, 2 locations in Jacksonville.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TURN to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TURN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TURN for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold's recently hit an all-time high at over $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Yo, it's your main man ET here for Explore Clay. And Clay County is your destination this 4th of July. Start the morning with the Freedom 5K in Keystone Heights. Medals for the first 300 finishers and a scenic course through the shaded neighborhoods. Then enjoy the 57th annual celebration at City Hall with vendors, live music, and family fun. Wrap up the day at Moose Haven in Orange Park for the American Pride 4th of July, a free Riverside event with food, live entertainment, and fireworks over the St. Johns River. Discover more at exploreclay.com.
I'm 1010XL's media mogul, Dan Hicken, and before the weekend hits, I break down what to watch and where to be. Catch Musings with the Media Mogul on YouTube and Facebook, provided by Tucker Equipment Rentals in Neptune Beach.
Learn Brooks here for Terminix. As temperatures warm up around us, ants come out in droves. And when they move into your home or business, it's unnerving. Terminix knows that ants add up fast, but Terminix subtracts them faster because living with ants isn't any fun. When ants show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with an ant problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Tired of wrestling with your shower curtain like it's a slip and slide gone wrong? Ditch the drama and say hello to a smooth, stylish glass shower enclosure from Baker Glass. Wago Glass is clean, elegant, and makes your bathroom look huge and brighter. Give your shower a makeover and feel like you're in a spa without the price tag. I'm Mac at Baker Glass. Call me and get ready to love your new shower. Let's make your shower great again. Remember, Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
Here for my friends at Zero Res. Man, I love the cleaning freaks. This week only, we salute the 4th. Zero Res offering 25% off all services. That's right, a 4th off for the 4th through the end of this week. So book it now, man. Schedule your appointment at ZeroResJacksonville.com or call 287-5727 and ask for the 1010XL special. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It spells the same. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res. 1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The end of June, the beginning of July means we are now inside of 2 months until college football. We are inside a month until the Media Day circuit begins, as we are now on the doorstep of the 2025 college football season. Let's take a trip south to Miami, Florida, check in on the Miami Hurricanes. When we do that, that means our guy Adam Lichtenstein of the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Adam's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Adam, I trust your offseason went well, man. How are you?
Yeah, it's been going well. After Hurricane spring football ended, I jumped on the Florida Panthers beat for a couple months. Been doing that the last couple of years, and that went pretty well. Got to cover another Stanley Cup victory for the Panthers, so that's always fun.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Back-to-back cups for the Florida Panthers, no doubt about it. Obviously, it was an interesting offseason up here. The Jaguars were unbelievably busy. The Florida Gator basketball team wins the national championship. And now we begin looking back to college football as we reach the beginning of July. Adam, when you think back to the 2024 Miami Hurricanes, successful, absolutely no doubt about that. Probably disappointing, I guess, at the end of the year. How would you assess last season?
Yeah, if I had to sum it up in 2 words, it would be missed opportunity. They had the best offense in the country. They had the number 1 pick at quarterback, Heisman candidate at quarterback in Cam Ward. And if their defense was a little bit better, they would have been playing for an ACC title. They would have been in the college football playoff. And, who knows from there? Would they have won a national title? Probably not, but you never know. They would have gotten in the dance, though. And because the defense let a couple games slip away against Georgia Tech and against, most notably against Syracuse when they had a 3-touchdown lead, they missed their chance. They missed their chance to really show the rest of the country how far they've come under Mario Cristobal. They still have come very far. They're still a much better team than when he took over, but they missed that chance to really show that they're on an upward trajectory and they're one of the nation's top teams.
Adam, you mentioned Cristobal. You and I talked before last season. There was a lot of questions about him entering 2024. Did he answer those questions? Is the pressure somewhat off of him now after last year?
It's kind of weird because if you told people entering 2024, Miami's going to win 10 games this year. I think a lot of people would have been pretty content with that. They would have been pretty happy. But the way it happened just left a sour taste in, I think, people's mouths. Like, they started the year 9-0, if I remember right, 8-0, 9-0. They won, they beat Florida on the road. They won some shootouts. They had a bunch of these amazing comebacks where things looked maybe a little bit rickety, but they won the games. And then they get run over basically by Georgia Tech, who just ran the ball down their throats. They come back. They beat, I think, Wake Forest the following week. And it's like, okay, just beat Syracuse and you'll get into the ACC title game and you're almost certainly assured a spot in the playoffs. And they come out firing. Like I said, they take a 3-touchdown lead. And then Kyle McCord and Syracuse just kind of battle back and end up beating them. And they lose that game in a shootout. And you miss the playoffs. You miss the ACC title game. You lose a similar game to Iowa State in the bowl game. And it just leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. I mean, but the fact of the matter is they have come very far. There's a team that won 5 games, 3 years ago. They're on the precipice of the playoff now. They've come a long way. They're a lot better. But they're right on the doorstep. They just need to take that last step.
Adam Lichtenstein, South Florida Sun Sentinel, talking Miami Hurricanes with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Obviously, you have a quarterback down there that we're very familiar with. Carson Beck won a state championship at Mandarin High School, no more than 10 minutes from where I'm talking to you right now. Successful career at Georgia, all things considered for Beck. Made a big splash by going to Miami. What is the thought on Carson Beck down there entering 2025?
Well, I think they want him to come right in and, fill Cam Ward's shoes. I mean, is he going to have as fantastic a season as Ward did last year? You can't really count on that, but they expect him to be a similar kind of leader, similar kind of guy who can, come in and run the offense. It's hard to say because we didn't really see him during spring because he was still recovering from that elbow injury. So he didn't throw it all during spring practice. But, by all accounts, he was, involved with the team as much as he possibly could, getting to know his teammates and everything. And I think the expectation is for him, he's going to come in and barring, something unforeseen, he'll be the starter against Notre Dame in week 1. I think they expect him to kind of step in and come out firing.
That's a tall order, right? He's only going to be 1 year in Miami. He's got to come in and replace the number 1 overall pick in Cam Ward. I mean, that's not an easy thing that Carson Beck is trying to do down there.
No, of course not. And Cam Ward made it look, everything that Cam Ward does looks easy, and it's not. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's right to expect him to come in and be a Heisman candidate, but he has that potential. And I think it is fair, both with the amount that he's reportedly getting paid and with just his pedigree, the fact that he was so good at Georgia, despite, a few road bumps or some hiccups in there. As good as he was, I think it's fair to expect a lot from him. He's going to have talent around him. And I think it's definitely fair to expect him to have a strong season and be a more than capable quarterback at UM.
There's no doubt Miami's replacing a lot. Arroyo, Restrepo, the starting running back, I believe 3/5 of the starting offensive line. Now, they went bonkers in the transfer portal, but what does the skill position around Carson Beck look like?
Yeah, from position by position, it kind of varies, obviously. Running back, they do lose a 1,000-yard rusher in Damian Martinez, but they also return, their number 2 and number 3 running backs from last year, Mark Fletcher and Jordan Lyle, 2 Broward County kids. Fletcher, he's been the number 2 back the last 2 years, steadily improved. I think he's going to be the top guy this year. He's a big dude. I've covered him since he was in high school, and he looks like a linebacker playing running back. He's just a big dude, but he's got that burst. Very talented kid. I definitely want to see a breakout from him. And then Lyle, he's a kid they took from Ohio State. He was kind of their number 3 back last year, but, I think was second in the ACC among running backs who had 50 or more carries, second in average yards per carry. I think he averaged like 7.5 yards per carry. An explosive kid, really fast. He set the record for longest run from scrimmage for a Miami player last year with a run against UCF, a 91-yard touchdown run. So he's really explosive. Then they brought in there's a couple guys who return, or one guy who returns, Chris Wheatley-Humphrey, interested to see what he can do in his sophomore year. And then they added 2 guys, freshman Gerard Pringle from the Tampa area, who, he was here for spring and people just raved about his speed. So intrigued to see how much, if he can do that Lyle role, kind of play sparingly, get some burst in there. And then they added Shamar Brown, who, was the top freshman in FCS. He's a transfer from North Dakota State, rushed for over 1,000 yards and 15 touchdowns. So the running back room is pretty solid, I think. The big question really is the wide receivers. You lose Xavier Restrepo, who's, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. You lose Jacoby George, who was a solid number 2 option. Isaiah Horton transfers to Alabama. Like I said, they lose Elijah Arroyo at tight end, who is a big weapon in the passing game. So that's really probably the biggest question mark on the offense coming into this year. Is just who replaces that production. They've got some young guys who are talented and, were touted recruits, guys like JoJo Trader, who was teammates with Jeremiah Smith, who everyone knows now. Trader was nearly as good as Smith in high school. Like, he's an excellent receiver. Didn't play a lot last year, both because they were just loaded at receiver and because he was, I think, a little banged up during the course of the season. Played a little bit in the bowl game, caught his first touchdown. I'm very, very excited to see what he does this year. They also brought in CJ Daniels, who's a transfer. They brought in Keelan Marion, who's an incredibly fast transfer from BYU, was an, I think, All-American specialist in terms of like kick return last year. He'll play some receiver. They have some interesting freshmen, guys like Malachi Toney and Josh Moore, 2 local kids who were outstanding in high school and, got a chance to get their feet wet in spring. So it's a lot of question marks, but there's talent. It's a question of who can turn that talent into production.
Final moments. Adam Lichtenstein of the South Florida Sun Sentinel talking Miami Hurricanes football here on 1010XL. Quickly, Adam, defensively, it was a nightmare at the end of last year. Heads rolled because of it. Are they expecting the defense to take a giant step forward?
Yeah, I think that's the hope. That's the plan. They bring in a new defensive coordinator in Corey Heatherman from Minnesota, who had a really strong defense up there in the Big Ten. And then they just totally revamped their secondary. The secondary was the biggest problem for them. They came in, into the season last year, kind of questionable at cornerback. And then as guys got hurt, guys like Damari Brown got hurt in the Florida game, Jadis Richard got hurt about midway through the season. They were really struggling for depth at cornerback. And they spent the offseason making sure that didn't happen again. They brought in a handful of cornerbacks. They brought in a safety in Zachariah Poyser. Brought in Xavier Lucas from Wisconsin, which is getting them sued right now, but that's a whole other story. Ethan O'Connor from Washington State, Charles Brantley from Michigan State. Like, the list goes. It's hard to keep track of everyone. There's Jacoby Thomas, a safety from Tennessee. Like, it's hard to keep track of everyone because they brought in so many guys over the offseason. The secondary is going to look totally different. Those guys all join Damari Brown, who's a former 4-star prospect, who they expected to start last year, but he missed most of the year after getting hurt in the Florida game. And OJ Frederic, who was one of the breakout stars from last year, who, was a 3-star kind of under-recruited kid out of St. Thomas Aquinas down here. He comes in and kind of slots into that starting role, and he was one of the best freshman corners, if not in the country, then at least in the ACC. So they've got a lot of talent now in the secondary, which, like I said, they've totally flipped it. They've got depth, they've got talent. And it's crazy how in college football these days, you can turn a major glaring weakness into a potential strength in the course of one offseason. And then, you look at the rest of the defense. Linebacker, you return Wesley Basaint and Jalen Alderman, and a young guy like Popo Aguirre, who is very promising, I think, up and coming. He's going to be a third year this year. I'm getting my years confused with my recruiting classes. But he's talented and should, fill a big role. They brought in Muhammad Toure, who was very good at Rutgers when he was healthy, as a guy who can play some linebacker for him. Defensive line, I mean, Reuben Bain's a star. He played, I think, a lot of last year hurt. He also got hurt in the Florida game. So he didn't have quite the sophomore campaign I think people expected from him after a great freshman year, but he's healthy now. I think he's going to have a big year. Akeem Mesidor comes back for, I think, his 6th year of college ball. He's going to play on the edge opposite Bain, and I think the pair of them are a really good duo at edge rusher. And they've got some talented defensive tackles. Like, they've got talent all over the defense. It's a question of, again, kind of like the offense, who turns that talent into production.
Adam, as we wrap up, we're going to find out pretty quick about Miami, right? You mentioned Notre Dame. Florida is in the first 4 weeks as well. I mean, that's going to be the telling tale, right? Notre Dame and Florida are almost right out of the gate there in the first month.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's going to set the tone for the entire season. And if Miami comes out, if they beat, the reigning national runner-up in Notre Dame, and they come out and beat an improved Florida team, both of those games are at home in Miami Gardens. okay, hype train is on the tracks and there's no breaks, because then you get into the ACC schedule, which is, once again, pretty manageable. They avoid Clemson. They wouldn't play them until potentially the ACC title game. FSU is, we'll see what they are after last year. And you look at their ACC schedule, and like their toughest games might be on the road at Virginia Tech or on the road at SMU. They only have 4 road games all year. So it's a very manageable schedule once you get out of that non-conference play. And it's a question of, how do you do against those 2 rival teams? If you beat both of them, then like I said, you're good to go. If you split them, then you just got to win out in ACC play and you're good. And if you lose both of them, I think people will be frustrated.
60 seconds, Adam. Do you buy the Clemson hype? People seem awfully high on them coming into the year.
Yeah, I mean, like everyone's on the club level, the Cade Klubnik hive. I mean, we'll see how they are, see how they do. I don't know enough about them to really say for sure they're going to be, national title contenders again. But Dabo Swinney always brings in talent. Like that's something he's done since he's got to Clemson, and wouldn't be shocked if they're an excellent team again.
Adam Lichtenstein of the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Adam, there's certainly a lot of Miami Hurricane fans up here in Jacksonville. We have a Hall of Famer that works with us, and Leon Searcy. Where can Hurricanes up here in Northeast Florida find your work?
You can follow me on Twitter at AB Lichtenstein. I'm also on Blue Sky at A Lichtenstein. And you can read everything I write at the South Florida Sun Sentinel, which you can find online.
He's one of our guys in South Florida, Adam Lichtenstein there of the Sun Sentinel. Adam, appreciate it, man. We'll certainly talk the week of Florida and Miami.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
1010XL.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, you hear it too.
What do you hear?
The voice. 1010XL.
He does have a warm, attractive voice, doesn't he?
Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Here's Linda Beaver.
The dog days of summer are here, and so are the hottest deals of the year. Whether you're hauling down the street, cruising on the beach, or just escaping the heat, we have the ride you're looking for and the wow you experience you deserve. Save big on select models with sizzling summer savings, low financing, and limited time bonus cash on all trades. So don't sweat it. Come beat the heat at Beaver Automotive, where the summer deals will wow you.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
After our son's shoulder issues were worsening, we took him to see Dr. Snyder at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, who recommended PRP treatment. We trusted Dr. Snyder's evaluation and look forward to seeing him pitch again. For the right care, the best care, we highly recommend Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Has someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI, domestic violence, and all criminal offenses. In your battle with the justice system, there's only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645. 354 5645.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
No matter what the reason, sending a floral arrangement from Kuhn Flowers always works. For unique and special gifts, visit their showroom on Beach Boulevard. ET here with 1010XL. Kuhn Flowers is my go-to, and it should be yours too. Online at KuhnFlowers.com.
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
With 50 years of fabrication expertise in towing products, the family at Cannons of Jacksonville can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
Registration is now open for the Circle K Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament. Over $250,000 in cash and prizes available, with payouts up to 20 places. Of course, there's great prizes for lady anglers, and bring along your junior anglers as well. Register today at kingfishtournament.com. Even if you're not on the water, spectators will enjoy fun exhibits, food, kids' activities, and a fireworks display at the Circle K Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Halftime, Hacker After Dark, 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. Coming up here in the 9 o'clock hour, we just talked Miami Hurricanes with Adam Lichtenstein. More on that in a moment. We will go to Athens, Georgia in about 15 minutes. Ben Wolk of Dogs 247, that's part of the 247.com network. We'll talk about Kirby Smart, Gunnar Stockton. You know, I'm going to ask Ben this, and it's been something I've been thinking about since I've started having a lot of these college folks on. By the way, the unofficial kickoff of college football season on Hacker After Dark is scheduled to take place next Thursday night, a week from tonight, as I've lined up Phil Steele. And once you get Phil Steele on the program, man, it's basically college football season. The magazine is coming out, so we'll have Phil Steele on Hacker After Dark 1 week from tonight. But in talking to these people that cover the SEC, the ACC, and really that cover the scene on a national landscape, you know, I hear people raving about Clemson. I hear people raving about Texas. Heck, Hayes Carline was saying earlier this week that The Athletic did a top 25 players list of the best 25 players entering the 25 season in the SEC, and Texas had like 6 or 7 of them on that list. And everybody seems to love LSU. Those are the 3, at least in our neck of the woods. And I'm sure people are high on Ohio State, even though they're replacing a lot. You know, I'm sure people are high on Penn State because they got Drew Auer back. But it just in our area, southeastern part of the country, it's all about Clemson, LSU, and Texas. Maybe a little Alabama as well, depending on what you think of Ty Simpson. I guess my question is then, for their standards, does that mean Georgia is a little under the radar? I mean, every year we talk about the Dogs and these unbelievable recruiting classes, and they've obviously won a couple of national titles. They won the SEC last year. They were in the college football playoff. But you don't seem to be hearing a lot about them. It's probably because of the uncertainty surrounding Gunnar Stockton, who obviously is taking over the quarterback position in Athens, replacing Carson Beck. But we'll talk to Ben Wolk of Dogs247.com about Georgia, about their outlook. Hard schedule for the Dogs, too. I mean, you talk about road games that Georgia has, or just games in general. Florida, obviously, is a neutral site. They play Texas. They play Ole Miss. They're at Tennessee week 3. Boy, week 3 will be spectacular. Saturday, September, 13th. You got Florida, LSU. You got Georgia, Tennessee on that week. We're going to figure out a lot about the SEC pretty quick. So we'll talk a little Georgia Bulldogs coming up here in less than 15 minutes. Also, towards the bottom of the 9 o'clock hour, we wrap up our NFC South preview. We've already made stops this week in Tampa, in Carolina, and in Atlanta. We will end it tonight in New Orleans. A lot of uncertainty surrounding the Saints. Quick, off the top of your head, driving around, listening to Hacker After Dark, wherever you are, who's the Saints quarterback on opening day? They don't have Derek Carr anymore. He retired, remember?
Tyler Shuck.
Tyler Shuck. You know that because you're in the business.
Yeah.
How many casual people know that?
And he played Miami. That's really
That's right. But, I mean, a 25-year-old rookie, by the way, which is interesting.
People loved him out of the draft just because he's older, so no one was going to take him that high because we sort of already know what his ceiling is. But I heard a lot of people saying, listen, if there's one guy in the draft besides Cam Ward that you could plug in right now that would be able to take over an NFL team and probably not be that terrible as a rookie, they all said Tyler Shuck. So I don't expect him to be great, but I expect him to be respectable.
Well, the Saints better hope so because he's what they got. They got talent there. Olave's there. They brought back Brandon Cooks, right? People forget about that. They obviously got Kamara, but he's aging a little bit. But we'll talk with Fletcher Mackel. He's a sports director of NBC Television. He's my guy out in New Orleans about the Saints, and that'll be it. We started our division previews in early May. We've gone one division per week, basically the entire summer, and we're 7 divisions in. The only division left after tonight will be the AFC South. Next week, we'll make stops in Tennessee, Indianapolis, Houston, and, of course, right here in Jacksonville. I'm on vacation the week of the 14th, and then that's it. Training camp will be here the week that I return. So a lot of football coming up, both Georgia Bulldogs, our NFC South preview, as well with Fletcher Mackel, the sports director of NBC TV in New Orleans. All right, JJ, a couple of things when we get to the guests. Quickly, one involving you, one involving all of us. Does Joey Chestnut get it done tomorrow?
I saw his odds to win, and it's you have to bet $180 to win $1. Yeah, he better win after taking a year. I guess he didn't take a year off, but after not being in the competition for a year.
What's going to be crazy is he doesn't have the mustard belt. He's not going to come out with the mustard belt tomorrow.
He's not the defending champion, but so I'm expecting him to be ultra, hey, I'm going to show exactly what they were missing. I have a lot to prove, and I think he might end up breaking his own record tomorrow.
Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest, the Super Bowl of Major League Eating. I'm excited about it. ESPN tomorrow at high noon. And JJ, you and I and Hayes Carline were talking about this earlier, man. You are less than 10 hours away from running a 5K tomorrow morning.
I am. I will run a 5K at around 7:30 tomorrow. If you're there running it at the Bay Meadows, I'll be the most attractive guy there. Obviously, just come up to me and tell me you're a big fan. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I do it every year. Unfortunately, my plans were to go and get drunk on the beach after that.
Interesting.
But I just looked at the weather. I'll be really freaking pissed if our 3-day weekend gets ruined by Mother Nature.
Is the weather going to be bad tomorrow?
It does look like there's going to be a lot of rain this weekend, and I hope it holds off. Because, man, how often do we get 4th of July on a Friday? It's one thing to get it on a Monday. You still get the 3-day week, but a Friday, and you don't have to go to work the next day, and it to be ruined like that. I hope not.
Yeah, that'd be
For
tough.
America's sake. Hopefully, Joey Chestnut wins. I have a good 5K, and the weather holds off, and we beat Mexico on Sunday.
Yes, the United States and Mexico, Sunday, 7 o'clock on Fox, the finals of the Gold Cup. I did see, I don't think it's Mexico's A team, but I saw that goalie, Ochoa, who's been there forever.
100 years old, yeah.
And he's on the bench. He's just kind of hanging out.
He's like a bullpen catcher at this point. I'm just along for the ride. How about our boy Luna?
Yes.
Who I didn't know anything about him coming into this tournament. He's an MLS guy. He's young. He's 20 or 21. Listen, he was spectacular last night. Had a great finish. He has got a great first touch. But then the second goal was phenomenal. His step over, a really great finish on that one. And I saw this morning that he already has multiple European clubs, including Leeds United from England, talking to his agent about probably signing him after this tournament, which would be huge for a guy like that, who basically is an unknown, plays pretty good against a couple teams, and it changes your whole life once you get over to Europe.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. That second goal he scored last night was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. All right, to the Georgia Bulldogs we go. Let's head up to Athens. Ben Wolk, he's with Dogs247.com. Let's talk a little Kirby Smart, Gunnar Stockton, and the outlook for Sikkim Dogs. They're up at the University of Georgia. That's next on a Thursday night. It's Hacker After Dark.
Celebrate your independence with Jacksonville Sports Radio, 1010XL.
Hi, everybody. This is Mike Dempsey from Jaguars Today. Just wishing everyone a happy and safe Independence Day. Happy 4th of July.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Got a clogged drain that just won't quit? It's time to bring in the pros. Duck Duck Rooter.
I called Duck Duck Rooter for a clogged kitchen drain. They showed up fast and had it cleared in no time. No mess, no stress.
We've seen it all. Grease clogs, hairballs, mystery goo from the deep. Whatever's blocking your pipes, we'll get it flowing again. Call 904-862-6769 now to schedule your drain cleaning service. That's 904-862-6769 or online at duckduckrooter.com. When you're stuck, call the duck.
Hi, I'm Karen, owner of Clay Solar Installation Partners, your local woman-owned solar company. Did you hear? JEA is raising rates again. With summer right around the corner, those power bills are only going to go up. But with solar, you can take control of energy costs and say goodbye to rising rates. At Clay Solar, we make switching easy and affordable. Stop paying more for power and own it. Visit claysolar.com to schedule a consultation today.
Lucas Tree Service is a certified arborist and a local family-owned business with over 45 years of experience. They specialize in tree removal, trimming, and stump grinding for both residential and commercial properties. Get prepared for storm season and receive top-notch customer service from Lucas Tree Service, 904-241-3533. Online at lucastreeservice.com.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On July 3rd, 1987, Darryl Strawberry threatened his teammate for criticizing his play. Darryl Strawberry is now an ordained minister.
At Tucker Equipment Rental in Neptune Beach, you just don't rent quality machines, you rent quality customer service. Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Dave. Tucker Equipment Rental has been supplying Jacksonville with equipment and event rental for over 50 years.
From commercial and homeowner projects, we've got what you need: lifts, dirt equipment, and landscape equipment.
And don't forget about event rentals, from festivals to weddings to backyard barbecues.
Local, knowledgeable, and always ready to help.
Tucker Equipment Rentals.
You need it, we've got it, come see us. Hi folks, Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Ever wonder what to do with leftover paint that you don't want? Here's a few options. Paint can be placed in the regular trash if it's dry. Simply stir in kitty litter to a thick consistency. Then wait a few days with the lid off till it dries. Also, if the paint is good, there's many charities or churches that would love to have it. If you'd like more tips or have a project, we'd love to help. Go to performance-painting.com. Performance Painting. Repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
Are you ready to reclaim your backyard? Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, Surfside Pools is the trusted name for expert pool design. Family owned and operated, they offer pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools transform your backyard into the oasis that you crave. Are you ready to float happy? Visit surfsidepools.net or call 246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, where luxury meets leisure.
License number CPC 044080.
Hi,
I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold's recently hit an all-time high at over $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Yo, it's your main man ET here for Explore Clay. And Clay County is your destination this 4th of July. Start the morning with the Freedom 5K in Keystone Heights. Medals for the first 300 finishers and a scenic course through the shaded neighborhoods. Then enjoy the 57th annual celebration at City Hall with vendors, live music, and family fun. Wrap up the day at Moose Haven in Orange Park for the American Pride 4th of July, a free Riverside event with food, live entertainment, and fireworks over the St. Johns River. Discover more at exploreclay.com.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The month of July has arrived. We are inside of 3 weeks away until SEC Media Days and inside of 2 months until the college football season kicks off. Let's head up to Athens, Georgia, check in on the Georgia Bulldogs. Life after Carson Beck begins. Of course, they're very excited about Gunnar Stockton and everything he might offer up there with the Georgia Bulldogs. Ben Wolk is on the ground up in Athens. He's with Dogs 247, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Ben, how we doing?
Doing great. I'm like you, I'm sure, ready for football season.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And Ben, before we look forward, let's look back. Successful year for Georgia, obviously. College football playoff, everything that comes with that. But the loss to Notre Dame, how, I guess, disappointing was the end of last season for the Dogs?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a relative expectations world that Georgia lives in at this point. Like, I think any other program that won the SEC last year, you know, makes the college football quarterfinals, you're probably feeling pretty good about the trajectory of your program. That's just not the world that Georgia's living in right now. I think that everyone's in the, hey, it's been 2 years since you've won a national championship. What's going on? Is there, you know, a little bit of uncertainty going on? I don't feel that way. I mean, I think that, you know, it was still a very successful season. I think that it was a very challenging season, and to still come out with an SEC championship should be celebrated. But there is no doubt there are questions about, has Georgia slipped from being the perennial national championship caliber program just because they haven't done it in a couple of years? And, you know, I don't see it that way, but I think that this year is going to be a critical one for returning back to that national prominence from a championship standpoint in order to be able to put to bed some of the disappointment, like you mentioned, that came from losing a game to Notre Dame that I don't feel like Georgia feels like it should have lost given how, you know, the season went.
You know, I was wrong about this when it comes to recruiting. I thought Kirby would still get his fair share of guys, but I thought with Cristobal, obviously what Billy Napier's starting to do, Dabo Sweeney, Heupel's building some traction in Knoxville, I didn't think it would be necessarily as easy for Kirby to be shooting fish in a barrel on the recruiting trail. And Ben, it still looks like he is, man. I mean, they're getting 5-star after 5-star after 5-star. Why is Georgia still being able to do this amidst all the recruiting competition?
Well, to your point, I mean, 10 commitments in 10 days. I mean, my hands are starting to hurt just with all the commitment stories that I'm writing over here. But I think part of it is the new world that we are entering into when it comes to revenue share. I think that everyone is going to have an allotted amount of money that they feel like they're going to be able to operate with. It's not going to be the same as it was when it was the booster back collective world, where there was almost unlimited, uncapped salaries that you were going to be able to use. And that was going to create a lot of separation between how certain programs operated. Like, some schools were just going to live in an unlimited world. Other schools were going to be a little bit more careful in terms of how they were distributing collective money. In the revenue share world, I mean, Georgia knows they've got $14.5 million to be able to use for their roster. And they know that they will even be able to go above that cap when it comes to creating real marketing deals that would be approved by Deloitte through that NIL Go clearinghouse. And so I think what it comes down to is Georgia saw this world coming. I think that I've said this for a while. I think Kirby Smart is one of those coaches that you want in your corner when you are evolving, when the sport is evolving, because he is just cutting edge. He thinks of things before a lot of people think of things. And I think that Georgia was absolutely prepared for that NIL or that house settlement to go into effect earlier this year, or really today is July 1 is day one of this going into effect. And so I think Georgia was prepared for this. I think this allowed Georgia to be more comfortable in how it was spending and approaching spending in the 2026 cycle. And I think you're going to see it moving forward as well.
Ben Wolk, 24/7 Sports, Dog 247, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Ben, let's get to the roster. First and foremost, Carson Beck gone, Gunnar Stockton in. Now, obviously, we saw that at the end of last year with the injury to Carson Beck. Was there ever a thought that Beck would indeed come back for his final year in college, or was it always pretty much assumed that he was going to find greener pastures elsewhere?
Well, I think if it was a perfect world, I think that Georgia would have loved for Carson Beck to be able to come back. I mean, when you think of a guy that had been with the program for 5 years, he'd been a starter for 2 years. He, led the SEC in passing touchdowns last season, despite the way people love to talk about him publicly. I mean, I consider myself kind of one of the, foremost members of the Carson Beck fan club. Like, I think that people are unfair in terms of how they talk about his ability and his talent and what he's done as a college football quarterback. I think it was one of those situations, however, where both sides sort of just needed to move on. I think that, Carson didn't feel like he needed to be in Athens for a sixth season. I think that Georgia felt like the time with Carson Beck and just how the things were going in the locker room had sort of run its course. I fully expect Carson Beck to have a great season at Miami, and I might be in a little bit of an island when I talk about that, but I think he's a great fit for what they're going to try and do. I think that he's going to excel in the play action game down there as well. I don't know enough about the weapons that they have at Miami to know for sure just how much he's going to be able to excel, but I think that he is going to be much more successful than a lot of people are talking about him right now. But I also think that Georgia, from their side, they were probably ready to move on as well. Like, it was just one of those situations. It was time, and were it not for having that leftover COVID year, Carson Beck would have, had 5 years with a red shirt in Athens. That's a pretty traditional college football career. So I think it was just one of those situations. Everyone was ready, and it made sense for both sides to move on.
Ben, the Carson Beck era is over. The Gunnar Stockton era, I guess, continues, right? Now, we did see him at the end of last year. How has he looked during the spring, and what are your expectations for him heading into 2025?
Well, he had his best spring, which I think is to be expected because it is the most amount of time that he's had in the system. It's the most number one reps that he's gotten during his time at Georgia. So I think it makes sense that he had his best spring. I think your guess is as good as mine or as good as anyone's in terms of what is Gunnar Stockton going to be for Georgia. Like, if we are talking about raw throwing the football, passing talent, I think it's fair to admit that Georgia is taking a step back year over year from Carson Beck to Gunnar Stockton. I think that Carson Beck was one of the most pure passers in college football this year, the past 2 seasons. I don't think that Gunnar Stockton has that ability to him. Now, there's some things that he does well. I think that he is beloved in the locker room. I think that he knows this offense as well as any quarterback that Kirby Smart has ever had. And I know that Kirby Smart adores Gunnar Stockton because of that. Even passing the football, there's some things that he does well when it comes to touch on his deep ball, accuracy on his deep ball. I think that he is maybe even a leg above Carson Beck in that respect. And so I think you're just going to see a slightly different look to Georgia's offense. They're going to operate. I think they're going to hope that the running game is more successful than 14th in the SEC like it was last year. I think that they are going to try and live in the play action deep ball game. And I think that that's where Gunnar Stockton succeeds. And I think that's why you see them bring in Noah Thomas out of the transfer portal. You see them bring in Zachariah Branch out of the transfer portal, because it's guys that have historically have success catching the ball in 50-50 situations down the field. And I think that's how they're going to try and use Gunnar Stockton in the passing game when they can. I don't know what to expect. I'll be honest with you. I really don't know whether I should be thinking this is a championship caliber football team, or this is a football team that just doesn't quite have the offensive firepower starting at the quarterback position. You know, I'm hoping to get some more answers as we get into fall camp, but we really might not know until Georgia goes to Neyland in Knoxville week 3. That might be when we really find out what true test Georgia is able to handle.
Final moments. Ben Wolk, Dogs 24/7. That's part of the 247.com network. He's with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Ben, we've talked about Stockton, a couple of the skill position guys. What about the defense? Obviously, Georgia's always going to be known for defense with Kirby Smart there. How is the defense shaping up entering the season?
Well, much like the offense was sort of a shell of itself from the previous couple of years, I think you can say the same about the defense. I mean, there were definitely moments where they were challenged in the run game. I mean, you saw the Georgia Tech game, I think, on Black Friday was a perfect example. Like, Georgia Tech kind of moved the football on the ground the way that they wanted to. I think that Georgia's always challenged when they're playing a quarterback that runs the ball well, like Haynes King did. And so I think any team that has that roster ability is going to be able to present some challenges to Georgia, even when they were in their most elite form defensively. I think it all comes down to two positions: the depth on the defensive line, where there's some impact guys that I think have NFL futures, but we haven't seen a whole lot of them. So we just really don't know how talented or capable they're going to be. And then the safety position next to KJ Bolden. Georgia lost Malachi Starks. Georgia lost Dan Jackson to the NFL. They went into the transfer portal and got 3 safeties, and I don't know that any of them are necessarily going to start for Georgia. So which one of them gets playing time? Does Ja'Cory Thomas get heavily involved in the secondary? How Georgia fares at safety and how Georgia fares in that defensive front will dictate what this season looks like, because Georgia's going to have one of the best linebacker rooms in America. Georgia's got a bunch of cornerbacks that they believe in, and KJ Bolden is going to be one of the team leaders. And so it's going to be everything aside from that that's going to determine how Georgia looks defensively. And I lean towards them upgrading from last season on the defensive side, but there's still some question marks for me to figure out.
Ben, as we wrap up, I can't believe I'm asking you this, but nationally and even regionally, everybody seems to love Clemson coming into the year. Everybody seems to love Texas coming into the year. I mean, dare I say, are the Georgia Bulldogs, for their standards at least, maybe a little bit under the radar heading into 2025?
Yeah, I think that that's fair, and I think that's the way that Kirby Smart likes it. It's been a few years since people were doubting Georgia, and you know that Kirby Smart loves to live in the world where he can convince his team that nobody thinks Georgia can pull it off. It is weird that Georgia had what I think was one of its lesser rosters last season, and I think one of its lesser over the entire course of the season rosters or performances. And they still won the SEC last year. And so it is weird to me that Georgia seems to be slipping down the rankings, but I think it comes down to what you asked me at the very top of the show. What is Gunnar Stockton? Nobody really knows. I mean, we've seen him play a half against Texas that wasn't great, but they found a way to win. And then a game against Notre Dame that was under pretty weird circumstances, from a bowl game getting delayed, and Kirby Smart was going through some personal things off the field, you know, with family while the whole game was going on. And then Georgia still, if you remember the game, I mean, Georgia still outgained Notre Dame by about 150 yards in that game. They had some costly turnovers in their own area right at the end of the half that really changed the course of the game. And then they give up that kick return touchdown, which was the first time that Georgia had given up a special teams touchdown in 6 years.
So just some uncharacteristic things that happened in that game. I think the way that game went has changed the tune of how people are talking about Georgia a little bit. But I really think it comes down to the uncertainty around Gunnar Stockton. If people had seen more of Gunnar Stockton over the last year or two, I think there would be a little bit more clarity. And until anybody knows what they should be expecting from him, I don't think anyone's going to stick their neck out for Georgia, and I think it's fair to understand that.
Ben, there's obviously a ton of dog fans here in the Jacksonville area. Let them know about 24/7 Sports, Dogs 247, and the coverage you guys will have heading into SEC Media Days.
Yeah, well, on the recruiting front, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. So if you haven't been with us, I encourage you to jump on board with Dogs 24/7 now, because there is going to continue to be a streak of good recruiting news in the Georgia world. It feels like old school Kirby Smart has returned on the recruiting front. And then, like you mentioned, SEC Media Days is only a couple of weeks away. We got our guys Jordan Hill, Kip Adams. They crush it on the team front, on the basketball front, baseball front. I think now is as good a time as any because it gets you through the football season if you jump on board.
Ben Wolk, dogs247.com. Ben, I know you're busy. Thank you for taking time out. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate you having me.
The future of Jacksonville sports radio is in the present. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. 1010XL. Jack Sports Radio.
There's certain places if you go in, they got what you're looking for, like Gate Convenience Stores and Cold Modelo's. That's the ticket. Or get on the craft side of things with something from Bolt City or Sweetwater. Hit the cooler at Gate, full of choices and all of them good.
The SEC and the ACC will face off in Jacksonville at the 81st TaxSlayer Gator Bowl game December 27th at 7:30 p.m. Join us for Saturday night football in prime time at the bank. Preferred locations and pricing available now at TaxSlayerGatorBowl.com.
My son had a meniscus surgery a couple years ago. Went smooth as silk, was playing tennis in 2 weeks. This is Patrick Malarkey, and I highly recommend Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Our son Eric's a Division I collegiate baseball pitcher who is having shoulder pain. We took him to Southeast Orthopedic Specialists and are confident that he's now on the road to recovery. This is Beth Anderson, and we love the care Eric receives at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville. In the summertime, it really can stretch out most of the year because we love the warm temperatures here in the Sunshine State. Greg, give them an idea of what Honda has to offer.
They are all over the board. They've got Honda scooters, Honda motorcycles, we've got Honda boats, we've got Honda side-by-sides. Whatever you like, we've got it.
That means adventure is waiting.
That's right, and we're ready for you.
In the showroom, you can find all that Honda has to offer on Atlantic near Regency, or check out Cycles of Jacksonville's Facebook page.
I insist on complete honesty.
You can chime in anytime on the 1010XL text line.
Installed by Lifetime Flooring.
If you have something to say to me, I wish you would just say it.
Share your opinion.
Are you nuts?
What?
641-1010.
That's crazy.
Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
This 4th of July, Navy Mutual would like to salute Yogi Berra as our hero in sports. Berra, a 15-time All-Star with the New York Yankees, was also one of the thousands who stormed the beaches of Normandy. The Hall of Famer is considered one of the greatest catchers of all time.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
Life is about choices and the decisions you make. I'm David Robbins with Epstein & Robbins. If you're convicted of a DUI, you'll have to face severe consequences. Walking through the doors of the courthouse or appearing at a bond hearing can be extremely intimidating. Without the right lawyer, you're likely to make the wrong decision. Let our team help you make the right decisions in court. Epstein & Robbins, the right choice.
Epstein & Robbins, fighting for your rights since 1975.
Are your kids ready to play this summer?
Come check out The Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At The Y summer camps, every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited, and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
Hi, I'm John Haney from Clearwater Gutters and Drainage. After heavy rains, the problems are obvious. Mulch blown out of your beds, water standing around your foundation, and that fancy new crater back behind your bushes. Let Clearwater Seamless Gutters help you solve the problem spots.
Clearwater Seamless Gutters. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at gutters. And drainage, too.
Find out more at clearwaterjacks.com.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
I'm Brendan with Checkmate Coatings. We coat it all: garages, pool decks, driveways, and patios. Be the envy of your neighbors.
Checkmate Coatings. Your floor's missing piece.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. If you've got fogged up windows, let me help. We'll replace them with clear, insulated units that brighten up your home. People say we're fast, friendly, and reliable. Just check out our Google reviews. Call me today. Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555, Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. One division per week leading up to the start of Jaguar training camp. This week, it's all about the NFC South. We will make stops in Atlanta, in Tampa, and in Carolina. Right now, it's all about the New Orleans Saints, a brand new head coach, maybe some uncertainty a little bit at quarterback. There's a lot to get into. And with that, our guy on the bayou out there in New Orleans is Fletcher Mackel. He, of course, is with WDSU Television, NBC TV in New Orleans. And Fletcher's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Fletcher, how we doing?
I am doing well. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, Fletcher, we always appreciate the time. All right, let's first and foremost begin with Derek Carr. How much of a surprise was it to you guys when that retirement came down a couple of months ago?
Yeah, it was a massive shocker, to be honest with you, because the Saints, while they won't admit it, they wanted Derek Carr as their quarterback in 2025. Make no mistake about it. And it's not because they look at Derek Carr as the future or the long-term answer. They wanted him one final year as a bridge quarterback, and here was their thought process on that. The way that team general manager Mickey Loomis built this team, they're an old team, and they restructured a lot of contracts to be good right now. If you'll recall, back in 2023, the Saints went 9-7. They could have been 10-6 had they not blown a 17-point lead at the end of the game against Green Bay. They could have been 11-6. They could have been 10-7. I'm sorry, they went 9-8. They could have been 10-7. They really could have been 11-6 had they, finished off a comeback against Jacksonville. So they felt like they were very close in 2023. They really went all in 2024, and then things went sideways. There was no way for them to escape a lot of the contracts that they had in 2025. Well, Derek Carr basically didn't want to be a lame duck. He wanted an extension, or he wanted to be released. Financially, because of the way the Saints cook their books, there was neither of those available. So they wanted Derek Carr to come back, to be a professional, to mentor a young quarterback, to play with, Cam Jordan and Demario Davis and Tyrann Mathieu and Alvin Kamara. Give it one more run to win a weak division, and then everybody can part ways. And Derek Carr just didn't want to be a part of that. You know, the phantom injury comes up. I was told that the Saints may have gone after that money, you know, filing grievances with the league and the Players Association because he had never disclosed that injury. So in the end, Derek Carr retires. I still think he's going to play football, be it this season or next year. He'll come back all of a sudden miraculously feeling better. But the Saints are now going to have to play a rookie quarterback in Tyler Shuck or a second-year quarterback in Spencer Rattler, who went 0-6 last year when Derek Carr really was injured. So the Derek Carr situation was, a really peculiar, unfortunate one for both he and the organization, and it has left the Saints kind of in the great unknown right now.
Wow, Fletcher Mackel, WDSU Television in New Orleans. All right, you piqued my interest there. So obviously from what you're saying, it was not a good ending of terms there with Derek Carr and New Orleans. The Saints feel like there was some shenanigans involved here?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And look, they're all going to put a happy face on it. And I will say this, to credit both sides, they never came out. They never went scorched earth. They never ruined the relationship. You know, Kellen Moore came out very ho-hum. We respect Derek. Derek's done a lot of good things in the league. You know, kind of like the name, rank, and serial number. Mickey Loomis said the same thing. Derek Carr said, I really love the organization. I've had great relationships there. They all said the right things. But beneath the surface, Carr either wanted, before the league year started, he wanted to be released. And look, he probably would have gotten a deal. The Steelers may have signed him before they went on this Rodgers adventure. The Giants may have signed him before they went with Russell Wilson. The Browns may have signed him. There may have been a deal out there, a multi-year deal for Derek Carr had he been released. Tennessee, look, their head coach had Derek Carr when the two were together with the Raiders. And if that wasn't the deal, if getting him out of New Orleans wasn't going to happen, Carr felt like, I want an extension. I want more than 1 year with Kellen Moore. Show me I can be the guy. And the Saints obviously felt like, look, that's not what's going to happen here. We're going to give you a year. Come in here, light it up, and then maybe you move on in free agency, or maybe you play so great, we have to re-sign you, and whatever young quarterback we take has to sit and wait, a la Jordan Love when Aaron Rodgers goes on to win an MVP award. So then I think it just fell apart from there. And behind the scenes, I think it was probably a little bit more turbulent than on the surface that people saw. But I think the mechanism was he's going to keep $10 million. He's going to give back his $30 million salary. He's going to retire. And if there's an AFC team this year that needs a quarterback, he's going to feel a lot better and maybe want to come out of retirement and play. Or next season, his body is healed enough where he can go sign with somebody. But I don't think this is the path. Because, look, the Saints know we can throw out C.J. Stroud and we can throw out Jaden Daniels and rookie quarterbacks that have had success recently. But most of the time, rookie quarterbacks do not have that type of success. And the Saints have a veteran roster now with a rookie quarterback. And I just think they know this isn't the situation they wanted. They wanted these veterans to play their butts off one more year, and that includes Derek Carr, and help bridge the gap for the Tyler Shucks and the young players that they have coming up through the pipeline. I look at it and I compare it to this. Patrick Mahomes was drafted, and Alex Smith knew I probably got one more year here. And he played his butt off, and they went to the playoffs, and Patrick Mahomes learned, and he went into a really great situation with a winning organization. I really think that's what Mickey Loomis envisioned here is these veterans will give me one more great year, and we'll go 8-9, 9-8, maybe 10-7. And the young quarterback and some of these young guys will step up next year in a really good system. And then Derek Carr obviously kind of derailed all that.
Couple more for Fletcher Mackel, WDSU, NBC TV in New Orleans. As our NFC South preview continues tonight, focusing on the New Orleans Saints. All right, Fletcher, you mentioned Kellen Moore, obviously coming off a Super Bowl win as the OC in Philadelphia. Your thoughts on the 36-year-old now in charge there in the Big Easy?
Yeah, super smart. I see why people have used the word savant. I mean, he is a guy who knows football. There's no doubt about it. And he's a very likable guy. He's very true to himself. I'll say that. There isn't a lot of bravado and bluster and theatrics with him. It's just, hey, I'm going to show up and work. And it's a smart, confident, offensive football guy that's been there, done that. People have to remember, this is a very accomplished quarterback in college, one of the winningest quarterbacks in NCAA history. He played 7 years in the league as a backup quarterback. He's, people have told us, doing a deep dive on him, that this is the guy in ninth grade that was drawing up plays for the coaches on JV, and then in college was basically the second offensive coordinator at Boise State. He was a coach on the field, they said, as a backup in Detroit and in Dallas. So he's a very, very smart offensive guy. I think his staff is good. This is the question that I have, though. Can he command the team and keep the team together if things aren't perfect? Because, look, I'll defend Dennis Allen as defensive coordinator until I retire from sportscasting. Dennis Allen is an excellent defensive coordinator. Dennis Allen reminds me a lot of Steve Spagnuolo. Steve Spagnuolo was a great defensive coordinator with the Giants, failed head coach. He's been a great defensive coordinator again with Kansas City. Dennis Allen was a great defensive coordinator. He's not a great head coach. I think he's going to do great with the Bears as a defensive coordinator. Kellen Moore, that's the big step. There's no doubt he is an offensive architect and potentially an offensive innovator, but can he be a head coach? That is a much bigger role than just overseeing one side. So far, it's the honeymoon phase. It's a fresh start. He's a young offensive mind in a league that is leaning to young offensive people. And so we'll see how it works out. But so far, so good. But the proof will be in the pudding, so to say, this fall.
Who's going to be the quarterback in New Orleans opening day?
Tyler Shock. There's no doubt. Again, it would be a shocker to me if it's not Tyler Shock. And nothing against Spencer Rattler. I like Spencer Rattler. I understand that you see flashes from Spencer Rattler. But there's two things. If Kellen Moore and Doug Nussmeier, his coordinator, and Scott Tolzien, his quarterback's coach, if they really felt like Spencer Rattler was their guy, they wouldn't have drafted Tyler Shock at number 40. They flirted with getting back into the first round to draft Jackson Dart or Tyler Shock. They end up drafting Tyler Shock at number 40. It's the highest pick the Saints franchise has used on a quarterback since Archie Manning. It's the highest pick Mickey Loomis has ever used on a quarterback in his tenure as a general manager, and he's the longest tenured general manager in the NFL right now. So, again, if they really believed in Spencer Rattler, they wouldn't have gone after and drafted Tyler Shock. Now, here's the thing. If Spencer Rattler shows up at training camp and he is just light years better, and in preseason he is light years better, he's going to win the job. But if these two are on even footing, it's going to be Tyler Shock. And watching the off-season workouts, days in the mini camp, they have been on even footing. And so I think it's going to be their guy, Tyler Shock. Since they drafted him, he will be the starter on opening day.
Final moments with Fletcher Mackel, the sports director of WDSU television there in New Orleans. Fletcher, as far as the rest of the roster, you talk about a veteran roster. Is this a team that could surprise some people in 2025?
So the definition of surprise, I would ask, is what? Surprise and make the playoffs? Probably not. Surprise and win eight or nine games and stay competitive until the bitter end? Yes. Surprise and be better than the 4.5 wins that Vegas has them projected at? Yes. So, again, what is your definition of surprise? I think, look, again, I just referenced it. This is a team that 2 years ago won 9 games, absolutely should have won 10 games, and was on the cusp of winning 11 games. And the roster is mostly still intact. Last year, they were besieged by injuries, and then soap opera with firing Dennis Allen and basically punting on a season. So the pieces are there to win, 8 or 9 games. I don't think with a young quarterback in this roster, they're going to go 13-4 or 12-5. So they're not that kind of surprise, but I do think they can be better than, I think Vegas, some books have them at 4.5, some have them at 5.5. I think they're going to surprise and be better than that and maybe stick around until, the wild card seeds are determined in the final week or two.
Fletcher, as we begin to wrap up, the vibe I've gotten talking to people around the division this week, Tampa Bay is the favorite going in. People believe Carolina has improved. There's some unknown in Atlanta because of Michael Penix coming into year 2, and people are not really sure about New Orleans because of the rookie quarterback. Is that kind of the way you see it?
I think you just absolutely nailed it, 100%. The one thing I would add to give it a little more context, I think Tampa Bay has maxed out, and I'm a Baker Mayfield guy. I wanted the Saints to sign Baker Mayfield a couple of years ago instead of Derek Carr. But I think Tampa is what they are, so to say. Tampa has hit their ceiling. I don't think Tampa is going to be a 12 or 13 win team. I think they're going to win this division for the 4th or 5th straight year, but they're going to win it with 9 or 10 wins. They're not good. They're good enough to be the best of the worst because this division is one of the worst, but they're not good enough to get to where, Detroit was last year or Minnesota was last year. And then I would agree with you on Carolina and Atlanta. I don't put them much further in front of New Orleans because I've seen Bryce Young play the last 2 years a lot. And I like Michael Penix. I watched him play in the Sugar Bowl here against Texas, and he was fantastic. But he's a big unknown too. So I would say there's Tampa Bay, and then there are 3 teams with massive question marks. And any one of those 3 could be that 9-win team, but I don't know which one it's going to be.
Fletcher, leave us with this. We got 60 seconds. The Gators come out to the Bayou early in the year, there in the month of September. What is Brian Kelly and LSU's football team going to look like early in the season?
They're going to be awesome. They're going to be really good. And if they're not, I don't even know what to say. I don't have a vocabulary to be that nasty, but they're going to be really good, and here's the reason why. Garrett Nussmeier is going to be a Heisman finalist, and this team's going to be pretty special this year.
Well, we'll see what happens. It's an early big game in the SEC, no doubt. Fletcher Mackel, the sports director, WDSU Television in New Orleans. He's our guy when it comes to the Saints. Fletcher, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time, buddy. We'll talk again soon.
No, thanks for having me.
And thank you to Fletcher Mackel, the sports director for NBC TV out in New Orleans, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. As that wraps up our NFC South preview, we've made stops now in Tampa, in Charlotte, in Atlanta tonight, rounding it out in New Orleans. And talking to people around the division, I think Tampa Bay is clearly the favorite. Atlanta, probably their biggest competitor, with a side note that Carolina is probably improved. And then New Orleans is obviously an unknown with a rookie quarterback likely to be their opening day starter. But certainly the Bucs are the favorite going in. And that is 7 divisions down. We have 1 more division to go. Next week will be the AFC South. I'm on vacation the week of 14th through the 18th of July. And then training camp. We started our division previews back in early May, and we got 1 week to go. And it's the AFC South next week before training camp gets here at the end of the month. Well, that will just about do it, man. We talked about a lot of things tonight, including the NFC South. We certainly talked about Georgia, about the Miami Hurricanes. We'll never get too far away from the Jacksonville Jaguars as well. And we have a ton of people to thank for tonight's broadcast. Again, Fletcher Mackel, the sports director for NBC TV there on the Bayou out in New Orleans. Thank you to Adam Lichtenstein of the South Florida Sun-Sentinel for talking a little Miami Hurricanes with us tonight. Again, thank you to Ben Wolt of Dogs 247 for joining us as well to do a little Georgia conversation as well. And back in hour number 1, my buddy Justin Barney of Channel 4 previewing Jaguar training camp and talking a little high school football as we're now inside of a month from High School Media Day here in Northeast Florida. And the Friday Night Lights, year 19 of the Friday Night Lights postgame, is set to kick off on Friday night, August the 22nd. Well, that will just about do it, man. Again, a crazy busy week. Really enjoyed sitting in on the Frangie Show with Hayes Carline this week. Obviously, love doing what I do every night here on Hacker After Dark. Our last show of the week, obviously 4th of July tomorrow. Enjoy the friends, enjoy the family, enjoy the cookouts, the beach, whatever you have going. Have a terrific, terrific time, and we will reconvene next Monday and start a new week together here on Hacker After Dark. JJ LaSelva was your producer tonight. JJ, great job as always, pal. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for listening all week, not only to Hacker After Dark, but as well to the Frangie Show, sitting in with Hayes Carline. Truly enjoyed that. As I always tell you, and I cannot possibly tell you enough, how much we absolutely appreciate you tuning in. So for all of us here on HAD, have a terrific remainder of your Thursday evening. Have a fantastic 4th of July weekend, and we will see you again Monday night right here on Hacker After Dark beginning at 8 o'clock. Until